this is Go Math Lesson 12.2. It's on statistics and probability. There's two standards, 6.sp.5a and 6sp.5b. The title is Describe Data Collection. The essential question is, how can you describe how a data set was collected? So, real world problem. One way to describe a set of data is by stating the number of observations or measurements that were made. Another way is by listing the attributes that were measured. An attribute is a property or characteristic of the item being measured, such as its color or length. So Jeffrey's hobby is collecting rocks and minerals. The chart gives data on garnets he found during a recent mineral hunting trip. Identify the attribute being measured, the unit of measure, the likely means by which measurements were made, and the number of observations. So we're going to describe the data set. Think, what property or characteristic of the garnets did Jeffrey measure? Well, if you look, it's mass in grams. Okay, so the attribute Jeffrey measured was the mass of the garnets. The unit used to measure the mass of the garnets was grams. To measure mass in grams, Jeffrey probably used a scale or a balance. The number of observations Jeffrey made was, you can see it's 12. Question 1. Would Jeffrey likely have gotten the same data set if he had measured a different group of garnets? Explain. So no. Garnets found in nature would occur in many different sizes, and Jeffrey probably would not find 12 with the same masses as those in the first set, so no. Question 2. What other attributes of the garnets could Jeffrey have measured? So he could have measured their length, he could have looked at their color, their brightness, or their hardness. So there's many different attributes he could have looked at. Okay, this next part I'm not able to do completely. It's an activity that you would have done in class on collecting a data set. And so it says that you would have needed a ruler and a group. So in this activity, you will work with other students to collect data on the length of the student's index fingers in your group. You will present the data in a chart. So it says, describe the attribute that you will measure and what unit will you use. So you are going to be measuring the lengths of the student's index fingers in your group, and you would either use inches or centimeters. And then this part says, describe how you will make your measurements. So for example, you could say we will use rulers to measure the lengths of our index fingers from the tip to the joint where the finger joins the hand. Describe the data you will record in your chart. You would put the name of each student in your group and the length of each index finger in centimeters or in inches, whatever you chose as your measurement. And then this next part I can't really do because it would require us to take data, which I don't have a group right now. So question 3, it says, one of your classmates made 3 observations and another made 10 observations to answer a statistical question. Who do you think arrived at a better answer to the statistical question, and explain? So the student who made 10 observations, because the more observations you make when answering a statistical question, the more likely you are to see how the data set that answers the question varies. Okay, I'm going to do a couple more for you, and then if you have questions, you can ask me in the classroom. So describe the data set by listing the attribute measured, the unit of measure, the likely means of measurement, and the number of observations. So number 1 says Greg's 100-meter race results. The attribute is the time that it took to run the race. So we're going to put time to run race. The unit of measure was in seconds. And the likely means by which measurements were taken, they probably used a stopwatch, just like we do when we're running the mile in PE. The number of observations, you could see they took 7. Okay, next one. The Andrews family water use. So now we're looking at this graph here. So the attribute that we're measuring is the amount of water used daily. And then it says the unit of measure. So the unit of measure on this is going to be gallons. The likely means by which measurements were taken would be a water meter. And then it says how many observations were made. So number of observations, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 observations were made. If you have any questions, you can ask me on the classroom. Thank you.